Welcome to the Informed Pregnancy and Parenting Podcast. I'm your host, pregnancy-focused chiropractor, Dr. Elliot Berlin. My guest today is a birth and postpartum doula, children's book writer, and mother of 4. We'll discuss her birth experiences, becoming a doula before she even knew that word, and her inspiration for her 2 children's books. Jill Magoffin, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much.
What an honor to have you here.
I feel honored.
Oh.
I love your podcast.
Oh,
I love you.
Hashtag mutual. I don't know if I'm using it right, but yes. All these kids these days. Okay, so let's start at the beginning, Jill. Where are you from?
I am born and raised in and right outside Los Angeles, California.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, right. And I currently live in Simi Valley, which is like 20 minutes outside of Los Angeles.
It sounds like it would be so far away.
It sounds like it would be 3 hours. And I guess on a work day in rush hour traffic, it would be 3 hours. So
what about mile-wise? How many miles?
I think it's like 20 miles from
okay.
like the suburb of Los Angeles, like the valley.
Okay.
Not far.
Yeah, not terribly far.
It's not like, popping. There's nothing out here really.
There's you. What else do you need?
I mean, yeah, you are right. There is me.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so Jill's out in Simi Valley, and what do you do for a living?
I am a birth and postpartum doula, as well as a newborn care educator, specialist, and I'm a children's book author.
So many things related to babies and kids.
Yes, because it's my passion and I love it. I love everything about it.
Was it always your passion?
You know what? I think it was. I mean, growing up, I was a babysitter and then I was a nanny. And when the kids would go to sleep, I'd watch do you remember TLC, that channel?
Yeah.
I think it's still on. And there'd be a baby story.
Oh, the baby stories.
Yeah. I'd be hooked. I'd watch them nonstop. And I knew I wanted to be a mom, but I just was so fascinated with the whole process.
I think that TLC also had I Didn't Know I Was Pregnant, weird, crazy shows like that.
Yeah.
I think they moved into the more obscure over time.
Very obscure. I just watched one about habits, like my weirdest habit or something like that. Yeah. Really crazy.
Did you watch Abby and Brittany?
No.
Oh, it's the Siamese twins, the only living, I think.
I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
You can't not. It's,
It's interesting for sure.
As people who are very involved with human biology.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so you loved kids from an early age and the whole baby situation. So
yeah.
Did you think, okay, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a doula?
No, I had no idea what a doula was or anything about the community of birth workers. I had no clue. So I just went on my life and got into the corporate world, and I just started helping friends have babies just because I enjoyed it, and they loved the fact that I would just get in there and rub backs and squeeze hips. And I just did it from the heart. I had no training. And then I met a midwife at a birth who asked me if I was a doula. And I said, no, my name is Jill. She's like, no, are you a doula? And I said, what is a doula? Yeah. And we went back and forth because I'm like, no, I don't want to be a doula thing. I thought it was a doula. I didn't hear it was doula. I heard a doula. Because I'll kill someone. I'm not a medical professional. She's like, no, what you're doing is exactly what a doula would do. And I'm like, tell me more about this. She's like, Google it. So I Googled it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God.
That's what I am. You already were a doula.
I was. And so I looked into training and then went from there.
Wow. I remember also the first time I heard the word doula, and she said it so quickly. And she said, I don't know, I'm looking around for doula. I'm like, Gesundheit. What, God bless you.
I mean, not everyone knows about it. And that's, what I want to change about the world.
Yeah. And it's not a word if they just said birth coach, labor support person, then it would be more descriptive. But doula, if you don't know, then you just don't know.
You don't know.
Unless I guess you're fluent in Greek, but then it would still be confusing.
Yeah, because that's a woman's servant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which sort of makes sense-ish. Okay, so out of corporate, you gave up the other career thing.
I jumped. I was in this high-powered, well, no, I'm really making it bigger than it was. I was in this corporate world doing all the things and working my butt off and hurting my back and my neck, doing all the things that I had no interest in doing. And
now I don't even know if that was just a lemonade stand or.
yeah, it was a lemonade and cookie stand.
Oh, cookies too. That's
I
working your
baked.
butt off.
Yeah. It was like workers' comp. It was insurance. It was like real stuff. And I didn't like it, but I had to do it because I had to make a living. So when I found out that I can make a living doing something that I absolutely love.
Rubbing backs and squeezing hips.
Yes. Well, there's a lot more to that. But yes. So I jumped. I actually was at a fellow doula's birth because I did take the training, but I could not afford to quit my job. So I took a limited amount of clients. And so I was at a birth, a twins birth.
Ooh.
Sitting next to this mom to be. And I looked at her and I said, I'm calling my boss and I'm quitting.
Wow.
And she's like, are you sure? I'm like, I've never been more sure in my life. So I did it. Kaiser Hospital. I quit my job.
You didn't want to just stage an injury and file a workers' comp claim?
No, since I worked for a workers' comp company, I kind of know how that goes. And
right.
Yeah. I actually called my husband first and I was like, hey, can I do this? I'm miserable. This is my passion. He's like, go ahead, just do it. He goes, we're going to be tight, but just do it. And I did.
That's really cool.
All right. I never looked back. I haven't looked back.
So you're married at that point already?
Yeah. I mean, this is only like 6-7 years ago. I mean, I'm in my 40s. So this is like a total change in my life.
Wow. Okay. So let's go back to, where did you meet your husband?
Online.
I mean, that's probably 20% now, at least.
I would say about 50 or 60.
Meet online. Oh, really? More than. Oh, that's where I meet most of my meals.
You meet your meals online?
Postmates or DoorDash.
Oh, got it.
Not that they're sponsors or anything, but they could be if they wanted to.
That'd be a nice sponsor.
Yeah, I would just do it for the service. Anyway, back to you. So you gave birth twice.
I physically gave birth twice. Yes.
So at that time, did you know about any of this, like support? Like, what were your pregnancies like? Did you have any sort of idea of what you wanted birth to be like? Tell me everything.
I knew absolutely nothing other than what I saw on TLC. And I still didn't do the things that I saw on TLC because I put all of my faith into my doctors and trusted every single thing they said to me. I had very high risk pregnancies with lots of complications, and I just did what they told me. So I had no education.
High risk pregnancies that you knew would be high risk ahead of time?
No. Well, the second one, yes, because the first one, I mean, I've been plus size all my life. And in the early 2000s, God forbid you get pregnant and you're overweight. I mean, that's just a death sentence. Like, doctors immediately like, why did you get pregnant? And that's basically the attitude that my doctors had with me.
That's the attitude my doctors have with me.
Yeah. Luckily, you're not having any kids of, home from you, but
coming out of my womb.
Yeah.
All right. There's a lot to explore here. You've opened a can.
Yes.
And I want to talk about all of it. Let's take a little break, and we come back. We'll get into your pregnancy and birth experiences. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Jill. Welcome back. We're talking to Jill Magoffin. She is a doula. She does birth and postpartum and childbirth education, and she wrote books. We're going to get to all that. But first, the juicy details on your high-risk pregnancies. Okay, so you're not a skinny mini and you get pregnant. Is that like being over 35 and they call it geriatric? So, like if your BMI is higher than 2, then you're, I don't know what they call it, a Fudgy the Whale pregnancy.
I mean, I was treated like I was being abusive to my child when I didn't even have my child yet. Like, it was bad. Like, looking back now and knowing what I know, I was treated horribly.
Did you have health problems prior to pregnancy?
No, I was overweight, and I did develop high blood pressure during my pregnancy.
How far into it?
About 6-7 months.
Okay, so
I was okay
trimester.
until then. Yeah.
And was it like really high or just?
I mean, we're going back 19 years, but
you don't remember every detail, Jill?
I don't remember my kids' names most days. I'm a doula. I don't sleep. So it wasn't good. And they put me on medicine. And that medicine was horrible. And then when I asked for support because that medicine was horrible, I got, well, maybe you should have thought of that before you got pregnant. That's how bad it is. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and these doctors are still around.
Really?
One I know of is probably going to retire this year, but yeah.
Is it too late to say I'm sorry for them?
Yeah, I've closed that chapter, honestly. I'm okay with everything now. And part of the reason why I'm so passionate about doulas is because of my experience back then.
That makes sense. That makes total sense. But I'm just like, there are tears in my eyes. I'm so sorry that was your pregnancy experience. Like, we're supposed to be here. All of us are supposed to be here to support you and not judge you.
Yeah, I didn't get any support at all, actually. But, you know, I have beautiful children. They're amazing. One is thinking about becoming a doula, and I can't even tell you how happy that makes me. So,
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was just hard. And I was in and out of the hospital and, you know, verbally abused. And then I was basically forced to have C-sections. I wasn't given the option of having vaginal births. And because I wasn't educated, because I didn't know the pros and cons, because I didn't have a doula or anyone in my community that knew about birth, I went along with it because I was the bad person that even thought about getting pregnant. So to save my unborn child, I should do these C-sections. And both were 6 weeks early.
6 weeks. So
there's no reason for the first one now, knowing what I know, why it was 6 weeks early. Second one, my blood pressure went up really bad. So I kind of get that one. But the first, no.
Huh. So preemie, were they in the NICU for a bit?
Both of them were. Like I said, I'm okay with everything, but still it really bothers me when I talk about it. I was in recovery by myself, itchy. I was so itchy after surgery. The nurse was busy talking to another nurse about plans for the next day. My husband at the time was in the NICU with my daughter. I had no family, no friends, no one with me. So I sat alone for a minimum of 12 hours, not knowing what my child looked like, not knowing anything or anyone helping me with anything. It took 2 days to see my child. And when I did see my child, it's because I got my butt out of the hospital bed by myself, and they caught me in the hallway walking to see my baby. And I said, you can kiss my, you know what, I'm going to meet my baby. And that's how I met my daughter. I got myself up and walked there by myself.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. So I did not have good births at all.
Yeah.
Second one, I was left in a room for 9 days. My C-section scar opened up. Again, they didn't take me over to see my son for a day and a half. It was just a lot. And I don't wish that on anyone. And that's part of the reason why I do what I do. So people don't have to go through that.
Wow. Yeah. Like you said before, I'll never experience that firsthand.
I don't wish it on anyone.
I mean, any of it. Like, I'll never experience childbirth firsthand, but I see it so often. I'm around it so often. And you know, the kind of care that you get makes all the difference in your mind, in your body, in your spirit, for you and for your baby and for your family. And I'm real sorry that you had that experience. If I could turn back time, but you take that in with you, obviously, very passionately now, supporting people and sort of, in a way, kind of making a new chapter for childbirth where the people who are lucky enough to have you around them do get great support and education and become aware of their choices and encouraged to make informed choices and supported in whatever choices they make and not shamed for, you know, choices that we've made that we regret or, you know, just shortcomings that we all have. So when you did doula training, was there a lot that you learned there that wasn't intuitive to you, that you didn't already kind of figure out?
You know, yes and no. Like, I know the basics. If you're a doula, you have a doula heart. You want to help, right? So even the bare minimum is the best of having a doula. But what I learned at this training with Anna Paula, of course, who is a goddess, is how to hold space, to how to navigate certain, you know, situations, things like that. And it was the best. That training was just an eye-opener into the birth world. And I felt so at home. I will never forget that training ever, as long as I live.
You know, Anna Paula trained my wife and I both.
Okay, so you know.
We took her trainings, yeah. I never pictured in my life a time where we'd be role-playing and I'm the woman giving birth and my wife is my doula. And a friend of ours who also did the training was the pushy mother-in-law.
Love it.
Yeah. I think like we're bonded for life now, if we weren't before.
Yeah, I'd hope so. Yeah.
After the way she really cared for me during my pushing
Oh,
phase. Yeah, my
I recommend
second.
that for every couple.
I think it's good.
Bring closer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what do you see as the role of a labor doula and the role of a postpartum doula?
The basic role is to physically, emotionally, and educationally support the birthing client and the partner, if there is one, and the family, really. That's the main role. But I do believe that it should be tailored to each person individually. Some birthing people are not going to want the same support that other people want. So you kind of have to meet them at where they're at and tailor it to their needs and their wants. That's the basic role, is physical, emotional, educational support.
And in your mind, is there an advocacy role?
There's a huge advocacy role. I guess with the client, I would consider that the education part, to let them know that the pros and cons and, what could possibly happen, what should be done, how they can speak up, things like that. But with regards to my job with just during the birth is advocacy. Absolutely. Making sure that the client is heard and that their wishes are respected. And if those wishes can't be attained, then they better explain why and options. So, yeah, advocacy is huge, especially right now.
And then what about postpartum?
Postpartum, I would say, is the same with regards to emotional support. Physically, I do some body work. So it's definitely physical, but it's also a lot of education, especially what I do, because I am a newborn care specialist. When I come in the home, I, see where everyone's at and just support them in their decisions and, show them little tricks of the trade and things like that, but make sure that they know what they're doing and they're going to be okay. So the role really is to just support any way that they need to be supported. And that could vary. Like I had one client, all they wanted me there for was just to make sure that they're doing it right. And I had another client that, had a major surgery. It was a C-section and there was other things involved. So it was a lot of physical support and a lot of emotional and also taking care of the baby. So it's a very supportive role, both birth and postpartum.
And do you do education outside of being a doula?
I do. I love educating. I have imposter syndrome, so I haven't taught a full-blown class, but I do privates where I teach grandparents, parents, friends, family, a lot of siblings how to take care of their new baby. But that's really like a doula, though, because I'm a doula in that role, but I'm also a newborn educator. So
right. So you're doing the education part of your doula work.
Yeah, exactly. I have some that didn't hire me for the birth or postpartum. They just wanted me to educate them. And that was great. It was so much fun.
Right. So you're doing the education part of your doula work with somebody who may not be a doula client.
Yes.
Do you know what you call a fake noodle?
I'm scared to ask.
Impasta. Impasta syndrome.
Impasta. I get it.
Yeah.
There's no drum sequence. Sorry.
But in terms of newborn care, are there certain things that are more typical for people to become surprised by? Like they didn't realize they would need to know or to do? Like, would you say there's like a top 3 or a top 5 things like people don't think about?
When I'm teaching a grandparents class, I'm very, aware of the fact that they're coming in like, I've done this before. This is going to be easy. I don't know why I need this refresher. And then when I explain like, the new sleep safety tips and things like that, they're like shocked, like nothing in the crib, not even a blanket. How are they going to stay warm? So things like that. That's one of the top ones. Also, why can't they have a little water? Okay. Yeah. Don't give water. And then the other one is hats. There's a lot of things, but the one that comes to my mind is like, what do you mean you don't have a baby in a hat inside? The baby should have a hat on all times. Like, actually, the recent information released by, the American Academy of Pediatrics states no hats, only for a few hours after birth, or if it's a preemie. You can overheat your child by keeping a hat on. So those are things that really come up a lot with parents. They buy everything and then some, like so many gadgets, the swing, the snoo, this and that. I'm like, you don't need any of that. All you need is your arms, your heart, and some clothing for your baby, and then you're good. Like a bottle warmer. There is no scientific proof really that you have to warm up a bottle if you choose to bottle feed. Like you could feed the baby cold milk. So you don't need that $800 warmer.
And just practically speaking, when you're on the road.
Well, that on the road, and then, when you're exhausted in the middle of the night, the baby's up so often, like, really?
Yeah, I'm saying if they're only used to warm bottles, or I remember someone got us a diaper warmer.
Oh my.
I'm not using that because if I don't have it, the kid's going to be a princess in the pea.
Yeah, I mean,
literally.
Sounds nice. I mean, but yeah, no. So, things like that, and just, reminding them of their power, and that, they have it within them to know what to do and to trust their instincts. But that's what I teach clients that are pregnant and having babies, and even after, like, trust your instincts, like, what to do. There are things that I'll teach you that will not really matter because your way is the best way because it's your child.
Yeah.
That's great.
One thing that's really cool is watching animals give birth,
Yes.
in the wild or even on a little reservation or in a sanctuary. And it's bananas how these animals just go into labor, sometimes with nobody around them, not even a partner, but certainly no doctor, nurse, doula, midwife. Most of them haven't taken a class or listened to a great podcast or watched a documentary, and they just seem to know exactly what to do and how to move. And those babies come out usually not that much drama. Some of these animals can make a lot of noise, but they don't. And then they just immediately go to the baby. Most of them turn around and look down at the baby and start doing neonatal care. They assess the baby, and if there's something wrong, they have remedies for the baby. And it's sort of like, okay, in my mind, I think the reason why we humans have so many professions around childbirth, like childbirth educator and labor doula, postpartum doula, baby nurse, things like that, is because we're not around it. We don't see it very much.
Yeah.
And I think if we were around it, just like the other animals, between that and the hard wiring that women have, you would just do it, and it wouldn't be that much of a fearful experience.
Exactly.
But because
we're trusting everything else but ourselves.
Yeah. And also the one other thing is, I guess animals don't really watch TV, movies, and read newspapers where everything's over dramatized. I've never seen elephants standing around a water cooler telling horrible birth stories,
I haven't
disaster
either.
stories.
No.
So I think that they have an advantage in that way too.
Yeah, ignorance is bliss.
I mean, back to your point, is like, if you just go on instinct, you'll probably get it right.
You will get it right.
Yeah, but you just have to be in touch with your instincts. And most of us aren't.
Exactly. And that's why it's good to be reminded sometimes of your power.
Now, Jill is, not just mama, not just postpartum doula, and also newborn educator. You're an author. I want to find out about your books after we take a quick break. Welcome back. We're talking to Jill Magoffin. And on top of everything else, you wrote a couple of books. Before we get into what the books are, what prompted you to become an author?
Well, side note, I love children's books. I love the illustrations. I'm fascinated by them. So I've always wanted to do something with illustrations, and I'm a horrible artist. So there's one thing. But I am so passionate about what I do, and just doulas and birth workers in general, that I want us to be well known everywhere. Like, I want a doula to be a household name. I think everyone should have one. So I wrote these children's books to start from the ground up. But I also wanted to let these children know that I, was blessed to be at their birth, how much they're loved before they even born. So I wrote a love letter.
Which came first? You have two books.
The first one was You Are So Loved. And that is my heart. Like, I'm tearing up talking about this book more so than tearing up when I was talking about my birth stories. I love this book. It's just a love story to the child, letting them know how hard their parent or parents worked to welcome their child into this world, and how loved they were from the very beginning, even by their doula. It talks about what a doula does, what the parents did to prepare. I made it wide range of parents, from same sex to single parents. I wanted everyone to have an illustration of their childbirth. So
yes, the illustrations are very diverse.
yes, they are.
Although I didn't see any elephants in there.
That is my next book that's coming out.
Okay, thank
so
you.
Don't worry. And they're standing around a cooler, so you'll be
Yeah, you don't want to piss them off because they never forget.
Elephant never forgets. So yeah. Yeah. So I actually took pictures from my actual clients' births with permission, obviously. And obviously they don't look exactly like the pictures. And I used those in the book. So when my clients got a copy, they opened up a page like, is this us? I'm like, it is. So, because it's a love letter to my doula babies. So I love that book. It's very close to my heart. So.
And what's your intention on how the book is used?
Well, I would love for every doula to gift this book to their families when they're, doing their postpartum visit and saying goodbye. Because there's a part in the back of the book, there's a page where you can put a picture of everyone together and you dedicate it and everything to the family. And I think it's a great gift that doulas could give to, everyone. But I also think it'd be a great book for parents just to buy if they had a doula at their birth and they want to kind of explain what it's like. I mean, there's going to be a time where, or maybe not, but for the, nowadays with all the pictures that are being taken at births, that the kids are going to look back and be like, oh, who took the pictures? Well, it was a doula. What's a doula? Well, let me read you this book. Yeah. So that's why I wrote it.
Oh, very sweet.
Yeah.
It's a very sweet book. And then your second book.
Yes. So I got a little bit addicted to the whole process, although it was very hard. Like I was like, oh my God, this is an amazing hobby and the most expensive one I've ever found. Like it is ridiculous. So I was like, what do I want to write about? And I have a lot of topics that I kind of have on, the back burner. But I was like, one of the biggest things that I saw for my repeat families was like, how am I going to introduce my child to this idea of having a sibling? So I wrote the book to kind of be like a soft opener to the idea of having a baby brother or sister. So it's called Dear Little Baby.
I haven't looked in a little while, but I felt like for a long time, people were asking, pregnant with a second or subsequent baby, asking, what do you recommend I read to my toddler?
Yeah, it'd be my book.
Kind of explain what's going on. And now you've filled the void.
Again, I made it very, very lighthearted. Like I didn't want a very serious book and like with great details. I wanted something to open up the conversation. Like I feel like, the parents should explain to their child in their own ways in terms of what's happening. So my book was kind of like the cutesy little thing to kind of, get the mind going and get the questions rolling.
You said you had some topics on the back burner. Is there number 3 in the works?
There is. It's actually with the illustrator right now. The name is pending, but basically it's about a doula named Sunny that is helping a family through the IVF process. Full spectrum.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just put a documentary in our streaming platform, Informed Pregnancy Plus, called One More Shot.
Oh.
And it's a really powerful fertility documentary. And we literally just put it up and already are getting a response and a feedback from people who didn't struggle with infertility, who are watching it and just for the very first time realizing how crazy intense that process is for their family or friends who have to struggle with infertility. And that's neat that you're doing one on IVF.
Yeah, I love it.
I like that the doula has a sunny disposition.
Yeah, I mean, she might look exactly like me, but, the name to be Sunny because, it's not all about me. But yeah, I'm excited. I've seen some of the rough drafts and the pictures, and I'm in love with it. I might not be the best writer in the world, but I love my topics and I certainly love my illustrations. So I'm super excited. So that one should be coming out in the next couple months.
And they're extremely heartfelt. And so
yes,
they're easy to connect with.
I hope so.
Well, Jill, I've learned a lot from you.
Oh, good.
And I'm inspired by you in a lot of different ways. And I know that our audience will be too. Where can we find you online?
You can find me online at jillmagoffin.com. That is my main website. I'm also on, other doula sites.
What about social?
Social is, wow, I'm really creative, at Jill Magoffin.
I love it. On like
Yeah.
Instagram and whatnot?
Instagram, Facebook,
Meta.
and then something called X. No, I'm not on Twitter, but I'm called X. It's so weird. But yeah, I'm on Facebook and Instagram. And yeah, I love connecting with parents to be, new doulas, people thinking about becoming a doula. Like I had mentors, and I believe it's important to be a mentor to other new.
Oh, so important.
Business. Yeah. So I really enjoy just connecting with people. It's great to get hired, but like if people just need support, like I'm always there. I love it. I have no boundaries. I'm in therapy for that, but it's okay.
You're amazing. Jill, thank you for joining me today and sharing all the uniquenesses that you bring to the birth community.
Thank you.
And to our audience, thanks for listening to us. If you'd like more pregnancy and parenting information, visit us at informedpregnancy.com.